All right, everybody, welcome to another mini-sode of Song Title Challenge, where you get inside the mind of a hit songwriter. That hit songwriter happens to be my co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter here. This is not a co-write. What the listeners do is send in their best song titles to info@daredevilproduction.com. Once again, info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Put in the subject line of the email, Song Title Challenge, and you can send as many titles as you want. The more the better, because I choose them randomly, spring them on Brent live, and then hopefully we can craft up 4 or 5 different conceptual approaches to how you should write the lyrics on the song. This is not a co-write. You own 100% of the song. It's a fun, creative exercise that's just designed to teach you how you can not stop at your very first idea and continue hitting stuff from different angles. Anything you want to add to that, brother?
Yeah, I mean, this is to give you a peek inside the mind of a pro writer and to help you think about songs a little bit differently than maybe you're thinking about your titles so far. And it can be your best title, or it could be a title that you think is cool, you just don't know what to do with it. Or maybe you think you do know what to do with it, but you want to get another guy's opinion. So see where I'd go with it, and maybe you like that better, maybe you don't.
There you go. Yeah, maybe the one that you came up with initially is the one to. Yeah, that's your boy.
Yeah.
You know.
Either way, you win.
All right. So this title was given to us, was submitted by Tony True. Tony True. True dat, Tony. Mm-hmm. Tony True, and the title is "A Whisper of Peace."
Whisper of Peace.
A Whisper of Peace.
All right. Tony, thanks for sending that in. I think Tony's a member over at Freddie.com, so he's one of my Team Freddie guys. So thanks for being over here at the C.L.I.M.B too, Tony. Okay, Whisper of Peace. Let me drink a sip of coffee while I delay the inevitable. Where I have to dig into this thing. See if that caffeine helps. Okay, Whisper of Peace. So, Whisper of Peace. First thing I think of is setting that against something else, like a shout of anger, a shout of something else, versus a whisper of peace. For some reason, the first thing I thought of was, I'd rather have, a shout of, triumphant, epic failure or something than a whisper of peace. Like, I'd rather have a love that shouts, even if it's volatile and it's crazy and it's heat and conflict, but love and passion and fury and all that, versus a love that's a whisper of peace. Like, you ever get along, it's fine.
Right.
But it's a whisper. The
last 20 years, we've just been waking up and been polite to each other.
Exactly. It's been very nice for the neighbors. Our neighbors love our marriage. Versus the ones that are like, well, they're at it again, Marge, it's midnight. They at it in a good way or bad way? I don't know, it's too early to tell. They're still still in the break.
I got $5 on Jimmy.
So that's one thought, right? A whisper of peace also, like you think of the even in the loudest storm of despair or the storm of whatever, there's still that whisper of peace, that deeper thing that's underneath. It's like the eye of the hurricane kind of thing. It's whatever storm is going on, then there's this whisper of peace.
Well, you could compare that to the eye of the hurricane, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So I think about that.
So that could be the metaphor for compromise, for where you meet in the middle.
Yeah, stop yelling.
Is the whisper of peace, right?
Yeah.
You're over here in this storm, and she's over here in this storm, and then in the middle is the whisper of peace.
Could be, yeah.
That's interesting.
So let's see, where else could we go with this? Because I try to get a good 5 or something, then kind of weed back through them and see. So I'm thinking of this because the way I write most of the time is country music. So I'm thinking, how can we make this like as a country song, or maybe a gospel song or something? What can we give it its highest point of value, right, to have a chance of being a hit or something like that? It seems like it wants to be a deeper, like you see, like tonight at the Bluebird, so-and-so will be singing A Whisper of Peace. You're like, this is going to be a 5-minute ballad about life. Yeah. And I'm going to be bored. How do we not do that? The yelling, passionate love versus a whisper of love that's just peaceful but it's just harmless. That'd be one way you could go with a bigger thing, more kinetics, more dynamics, and be interesting. which I think is cool. The other may be more of a CCM or a gospel thing, the Whisper of Peace, or it could be girl, even you, or you could frame it a God thing, or you could frame it a love thing. Like, even in the storm that we go through together, you're always there, you know, in my ear with that whisper of peace. Like,
ooh,
I got you,
good.
girl.
Yeah,
you are you're the eye of the hurricane for me. Like, as long as I got you, you know,
yeah, like life is a
storm,
but you and I are right here.
Yeah, exactly. We're together, and you give me that. You know, when you kind of say my name, boy, that's just a whisper of peace. That's like, as long as we're good, I'm good.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Yeah,
because that could be cool. So that could be like a positive love thing, even though it's.
And because
it has that darkness in the storm in it.
If you're talking about the storm, too, put some BPMs positive on that, man. You know what I mean?
It could be big, like a Carrie Underwood, you know, boom, big power ballad thing. You know, you got a lot of power, or it could be more of a rocking kind of thing, and maybe just, you know, slow at the hook line, or somehow you sing "Whisper of Peace" in a way that feels appropriate to sing that. You know, like "Whisper of Peace." Doing my best, Johnny. Yeah, whisper. That feels weird. But if there may be a way to do that still with some energy and stuff. Maybe just drop out all the production, and you know, I'm not
sure. I mean, I'm thinking of a Carrie Underwood song right now that did that. That was like, gosh, what was the song? I'll remember it. Keep going.
Yes, something. I don't know. So what else could we do? A whisper of peace. So, you know, we're thinking about, you know, letting the title write your song. So then I'm going, whisper. Okay, what does it make me think of? It makes me think of the opposite, right? Yells, storms, shouts, peace. What's the opposite of that? You know, storm, violence, anger. You know, so you play off that, go over there are ways we can set this apart, you know, to really set up that title to be strong. You know, it could be, it could be a mother, daughter, father, son, daughter kind of thing. You know, parent, like that little voice. You know, that your kid. That's whisper peace. Now that's not as commercial because most artists aren't going to sing about having a kid, or they just can't sing about that honestly about having a kid. So that's a smaller bullseye. So I'm digging the love thing right now.
What if you go the other way with it? What if you talk about like a best friend who's like the voice of reason, the whisper of peace, and your mom or your dad,
right,
or your sister or your brother, or you could, you know, it might get a little cheesy, but you could go the other way. But then there's always like that sort of one handful of people that are a whisper of peace, right? Like you can count your real friends on one hand, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of a thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I wonder if there's a way too that the whisper is something that's actually loud. Like, you know, when, like, you know,
my dad's whispers are loud. My mom used to say that.
The Marine.
Yeah.
Right.
He's got, my mom used to call it his stage voice, his stage whisper, you know?
Yeah.
I specifically remember a seventh grade, him meeting, what do you call it, parent-teacher conference. But everybody's in there, like it's all sort of like an open house kind of a thing. And my dad just didn't really like the seventh grade social studies teacher a lot. Like, what an a-hole. Yeah. My mom's like, John, you know, like that.
It's like my kids when they're trying to whisper. They use the same volume, only they do breathy.
Yeah. Okay, Dad, we'll do this.
I'm like, it's the same volume. You just change the texture of your voice.
You just went from Rob Halford to George Michael, but it's just as loud.
All right. What is a whisper is actually literally loud, so it's a metaphorical whisper, but it's not like, you know, when your lover fights with you, but there's a whisper of peace in there because you know it's like they're not just bailing, like we're in it, like they're working things out because they want to work things out and they're not leaving. There's a whisper of peace in that, like you love me enough to fight with me instead of just walking out. That could be interesting too. Like, you know, what's the silver lining and what's the whisper of peace and yelling and that kind of stuff going, cool. Like when you get quiet, that's when I worry. You know, you could just leave, but no, you're invested enough in this relationship to fight with me and to bring stuff up, and you know, we have that tension, that push and pull,
have the tough conversation,
that kind of stuff. Even when you get mad, but that's a whole lot better than just, you know, walking out. So there's a whisper of peace in that, which that's still kind of really a lot of dark cloud for that silver lining.
You know, so okay, another way to frame it, you just gave me an idea, would be so you're kind of talking about all the to maybe sort of jump off of what you just said, you sort of go down all the fights, all the maybe it feels like instability, but let's call it turmoil. The turmoil, the maybe the jealousy, maybe the insecurity and everything like that. But all that, to me, as loud as it is a whisper of peace because
you're in it.
You're in it.
You're in it.
Yeah.
You're invested. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So that can be.
So then I know you're still hanging on.
Yeah. It's if you hear through all the noise, all the racket, you hear that whisper of peace. That like, good. I'm in it. I love you. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh,
so
there
I'm
you
going to
go.
fight for.
It could be like a teaching moment kind of song, like the good stuff, right? Where it's hey, where somebody's complaining to somebody else about this latest fight, this latest turmoil, this latest disagreement. It's like, hey man, that's a whisper of peace. Like, what? There was no whispering.
The whisper in the shout is that she's not walking out. That's
whisper in the shout is that she's not walking out. Boom.
There we go. That's fun. It could also be. So I'm digging that because that you won't see that coming. It's like even though we fight and we fuss and we all this stuff, but there's a whisper of peace in there. Well, the other thought too is what I'm thinking more, and this is not a military song, but that thought of the military. It's like just because you don't have a war doesn't mean you actually have peace. Like sometimes there's just giving in. And there's surrender. Well, that's one way to avoid a war, is just surrender to the bad guy. That's a whisper of peace. That's not a good peace. That's just surrender. 'Cause that's defeat. I don't know. There's something there rolling around. I'm trying to think of.
What about surrendering to love?
Yeah.
What about using that and maybe frame it like in a war kind of thing? But it's about like you can go if you just surrender to it. There can be a whisper of peace in your life.
There's like appeasement thing. I'm still on the geopolitical stuff. There's like appeasement, and then there's peace.
Yeah.
Don't confuse a lack of conflict with peace.
Right.
That may not fit this, but that's what we do in co-writes. We chase stuff.
Yep. We go in and out of different rabbit holes.
Exactly. Wait, no. But I'm kind of digging that, Tony. The thought of even in a couple of things I like is the world is a storm, but with you, we have that peace. But that has been more done, right? So it's like okay, but there are those songs where
but has it been said like that?
Probably.
Have you ever heard a whisper of peace?
Well, maybe not with that title, but that general thought of like stuff's crazy, but I got you, so we're okay. Okay, I've heard that type of idea before, and it's a good one. Nothing wrong with it. So that's one thing. But what I think is a little more interesting is even in the shouting, the fighting, the tension that we get in. Sometimes there's a whisper of peace because you want it to work out. You're not going anywhere. That's the silver lining in this. Like it blows up sometimes, but it only blows up because you don't blow out. And because you give a crap about it. Exactly. So you want this to work out and to get better, and for us to work on each other and work our rough edges off. And it's a positive song. Going, don't be fooled just because there's, we fight some and that tension, and you think, oh my gosh, everything's falling apart. No, we're just working it out. If it were falling apart,
it's just ABCs of me, baby. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that could be an interesting.
What about like a mental sort of self what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
self-talk or
self-therapy. Yeah, self-talk, self-therapy kind of thing where it's like I'm always in this storm, but like if you could articulate lyrically how sometimes we step in a pile of doo-doo and slide across the floor,
right,
and then we're trying to defend our damn selves. And instead of just saying I was wrong, you know what I mean, and put it that way, then there would be a whisper of peace.
Yeah,
like that could be a way to do it too, because that happens a lot, right?
Yeah, and it's like stop listening to the shouts of pride and start listening to the whisper of peace.
Ooh,
that's what because that's kind of what that is. That's pride. That's self.
Yeah, there you go.
I got to guard myself and my self-image. Stop, and that self shouts really loud, but the deeper stuff is more of a whisper.
If you listen hard enough through the shouts of pride, you'll hear the whisper of peace,
and it's like
from your heart of hearts,
and which could be people working it out, lovers working out conflict, or just you can even go maybe bigger stuff.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool too. So
a little deeper,
but put tempo. on it. I mean, if you can do that, then you're really rocking.
Killer.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Brent. Once again, guys, if you want to submit a title to Song Title Challenge to have and get inside the mind of a hit songwriter and see how Brent would approach it conceptually, send your song title to info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular. There is no S. Once again, info@daredevilproduction.com. Put in the subject line Song Title Challenge. And we thank you for the last one, Tony True.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. And also, Tony, or anyone else is listening, this is like a short, 10, 15-minute version of what I do in some of my coaching and coach writing stuff. If you're interested in that, I can help you prepare your song. I can help you repair your song. You can bounce ideas off me. We get in a lot more in-depth and in private than we are right now. And you can check out all the coaching options and everything at songwritingpro.com/coaching. That's songwritingpro.com/coaching. It'll hook you up.
There you go. Thanks a lot, guys.